Hello and welcome. Today is kind of a fun episode because it's something I have very intimate knowledge about and, well, I shouldn't say knowledge, experience with and on a day to day basis, and I also see both sides of. This is a conversation of clients talking to web developers, aka nerds. So, what happens between the two? Why is something almost always lost in translation? And why do developers sometimes just not get it about what you want? And the point of view of developers, why sometimes clients just don't get it when they're trying to communicate their ideas. So it's a little bit of a misnomer, I should say, to think that the web developers are not good, great, or there's for some reason a little bit different. I will say it this way. Web developers generally are rather logical. They're rather straightforward, usually. And if you hire somebody who is not a junior level developer, so if you hire somebody generally a senior level developer or higher, you will find out that they have pretty good brains on a pretty good head on their shoulders, and they're able to figure out what you're looking for pretty well. Though, remember, they are generally not business people. They are web developers first and foremost. They want to do web development first and foremost. So they think web development first and foremost. You, on the other hand, are thinking of business goals, needs, wants, and everything else around your business. So a web developer is not going to be thinking along the same lines as you generally. So the question becomes, how do you, as a client, properly transfer your ideas, wants, needs to a web developer? Well, it's not a simple, I guess, answer of, do this, this, and this. Though here are some ideas and strategies you can use to better communicate and work better along with a nerdy web developer. So I will say this. Is there a difference between working with a guy web developer versus a girl web developer? No. Logic is logic, and pretty much anybody worth their salt pretty much follows the same standards, logics, and thought processes in creating a website. Of course, there are differences in the tools, but that's another conversation. For you as the client, the biggest thing you need to start setting initially is expectations. What do you expect out of this person? Do you expect them to be this unicorn of a person who can design, develop, write copy, figure everything out for you? Or are you looking for somebody who, you have everything ready for them and you're going to then, just give it to them and they can then code it up? So there's kind of that, it depends who you're, of course, you're hiring on to do this work for you and what kind of your needs are. From there, it becomes a question of what do you have ready for them? And this is probably where a lot of miscommunication with web developers comes in, and that's communicating the design and functionality needs to the code that's actually going to be written. For example, let's say you say, here's my web design, here's a JPEG graphic. I want you to take this design, or here's a Photoshop file, make this into a website. Well, that becomes a question from the web developer. Well, this is generally not enough information because there's a lot that if you hire a good web developer, they're going to tell you that, well, we need the mobile design. What are the interactive or active states? What kind of content is supposed to go in here? What's supposed to happen when these items go together? Are there any animations? So they'll be asking you these kinds of questions. Now, let's say they don't. You, as the business owner, need to communicate effectively what's going to happen in all these places. While you don't have to be a logical person and know all this, if you don't provide all these answers for your developer, they're going to create something from exactly what they see. So understand that. If you give them a Photoshop file with all these static items and no instructions, and then that's exactly what you get, but you're thinking, oh, where are the button animations? Why is this thing looking weird on mobile? You never communicated that with them. Now you can say, here's this file. I know it's not complete. Let's make some general assumptions about animations or responsiveness. Can you do what you can to make it work and function properly based on this little bit of information that I have? And that's okay. So you need to communicate what you have, what you don't have, what you understand, what you don't understand, and then what you expect out of them to do? Do you expect them to guide you through this process, to tell you what you're missing, what you need? Or do you expect them to simply say, yes, okay, I'm going to get this done, and then whatnot? But the other question is going to be on timing, execution, and code quality. Or what about bug fixes? Great web developers and agencies and companies are going to tell you, well, this is going to take X amount of time because we know that from experience. This is kind of what you can estimate for time, budget, and resources. Should there be bugs, we'll fix them up. We'll make sure it's launch ready for all these items. If you get somebody who is not an expert generally, they'll say, okay, I'm going to code this up, and they'll probably make it work on whatever browser and system they're working on. Well, if you're, for example, a person who primarily uses Internet Explorer, heaven forbid, you will be unpleasantly surprised that most, especially lower and mid-end freelancers and agencies, don't by default support Internet Explorer. And there are good reasons for that, because Internet Explorer kind of generally sucks. It's been getting better. But if you have the expectation that it needs to work absolutely perfect on all these systems and all these platforms, you need to take that into account and let them know that it has to up front, so they can either give you a proper quote or let you know this is going to take a lot longer because we need to support Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, Netscape, Internet Explorer, all versions of Internet Explorer. And there's a lot of things that go into different things that go into making sure all of it works. So you as the client need to tell people up front, I'm looking for perfect code. I want it to be bug free. I want it to look exactly like the design. If I need to work perfectly like this in Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, on Mac, Linux, and Windows, I also need it to work properly on iOS and Android. You need to set these expectations. Now, you can simply say, I don't understand any of this, so I don't know what to do here. That is a fair thing to say. You can at that point say, I really don't understand this nerdy stuff, but I do have this design. I just need it coded. What can we do from here? What do I need to know? And a good web developer or an agency is going to tell you, well, great, we need to figure out the mobile design. So before we do this project, let's do a discovery or scoping project to figure out exactly what we need and get all the details down before we jump into the huge project. So you might have to take that small little step ahead of time. So then you as the client have to say, okay, I know I don't understand some things. Help guide me through this so we can make this project done right. Let's figure out what I don't have or what I do have. What do I need to provide for you? Because you are the client, and depending who you hire, you might have to take charge and explain things of what you want, need, and how you'd like things done. Simply saying, here's a design or here's some functionality, go do it, is generally a bad way, because it's going to be one of those things. It's kind of the joke from the military. You say jump, they jump. It's like, well, I don't want you to jump that high. I don't. Somebody might say, you say jump, and they keep jumping forever. It's like, well, I don't want you to jump forever. I just want to jump once. Well, you didn't specify. So, setting these expectations, and that's honestly the biggest thing of talking to a web developer, setting expectations, what you want, what you don't want, letting them know, what you don't know, and what you would like to figure out. The basic things you'll have to figure out in web development is what browsers generally you want to support, what general functionality you want, how you want the user experience to be in general, and if you need the web developer to take charge and lead on these things. Now, this is a conversation for another time, but there is a difference between hiring a junior, mid, senior, and kind of expert in an agency. There's differences between hiring these kinds of people. And depending who you hire, what your availability and resources are, you're going to get somebody different who communicates differently. But overall, web developers are going to be very logical, very straightforward. So if you give them a design with not much info on it, they're going to create exactly that they see. And then don't be surprised if that's what you give them visually is exactly what you get, and doesn't work perfectly in every scenario because you didn't communicate these needs. So, big things to know as a client: communicate your expectations, let the developers know what you're expecting, up, down, left, right, from timeline, budget, resources, availability, and all these things. Let them know that. Also, let them know what you know and don't know, and start having a conversation with them about what your expectations are, what you know, what you don't know, and to help gather whatever information you might need extra to help them get the job done. And then also start having a discussion about the general user experience, the functionality across various browsers, various options and tweaks in user experiences. Now that gets kind of into a conversation about general project management, so we'll leave that for another time. But in general, no, when talking to a web developer, they're going to be very straightforward, very logical. So if you give them something simple, they'll do just that. So set your expectations appropriately going forward. If you're interested in working with some professionals, let us know. We've done projects from simple one-page things to full custom development, to WordPress, Shopify, Magento, and everything in between with full custom, or even one-offs and templates. We know how to communicate between developers and clients and translate the two languages between each other. So if you have a project, let us know. We'd be happy to help do the project with you, communicate with you, or even help you just be like a person in between to help you understand what's going on and be a translator for you. So let us know in the comments or shoot us an email and we'd be happy to chat. See you next time. Toodles.